Sammy. Thank you, Roger, for having us. And thank you for letting us present the Intent program, the interactive tool for empathy for neurotypicals. We aim to create a unique VR experience designed for neurotypical people to experience real-life situations from the eyes of someone with a neurodivergent condition. So a person considered neurodivergent is one who has autism, ADHD, a learning disability, dyslexia, or any other neurologically based condition. They may or may not have an intellectual disability. A person considered neurotypical is one who has a typical development. They think, they perceive, they behave in ways considered within society's mainstream boundaries. Because some people with autism spectrum disorder may use identity first language such as I'm an autistic. Some use person first language like I know and I have autism. Some people use neurodiverse such as I'm neurodivergent. It's a personal choice. We'll use these terms interchangeably for the sake of inclusivity.
The neurotypical team leader's perspective. Picture it. Employees get a 1-hour lunch break at a location they choose based on the employee handbook. The new team leader wants to encourage teamwork and announces everyone will eat lunch together in the company cafeteria starting next week from 12:30 to 1:30 p.m. The team nods and adjusts their schedules accordingly, except for one team member who has a very emotional reaction. The team leader feels that this team building plan should not be so problematic and labels that team member a troublemaker. The autistic employee's perspective. Picture it. The autistic employee eats lunch from 12 to 1 p.m. every day. Their schedule for each day is carefully planned and organized on their e-calendar, color-coded with notifications. The new team leader emphasizes teamwork and announces everyone will eat lunch together in the company cafeteria starting next week from 12:30 to 1:30 p.m. The team nods and adjusts their schedules accordingly. However, the autistic employee is upset and confused and complains loudly about lunch and the new time change. Then the autistic employee finds out that the reason for pushing the team meeting back is that the team leader exercises and showers from 11:30 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. every day, and thus is taking 2 hours for their lunch. So they complain again because the employee handbook states that all employees should be given only 1 hour for lunch, and this is unfair.
So why does this matter? Well, the United States has a lot of autistic people, and 1 in 59 children in the United States were diagnosed with autism. And with so many people, 330 million people in the country, that means over 5 million people in the United States will be affected by autism based on these numbers. And one of the challenges is that though companies hire like autistic people, the rate of their employment is actually fairly low, and only 14% of people with autism are employed for pay. Now, there's an initiative called the Autism at Work Roundtable, which has 32 companies, of which Microsoft, my company, is one of the members, which have special programs for hiring people on the spectrum in order to boost their employment numbers. And in fact, over the last 5 years, we've hired over 130 people with autism as software developers at Microsoft. Now, once the team has hired somebody through this program, they receive training from Microsoft on how to work best with an autistic person, which to date has gone out to over 3,000 employees. So what this means is that training programs for neurotypical people or non-autistic people are very important to be able to enable the autistic people to perform best when they get to work. Now, typically, autistic people go through a lot of training from a very, very young age of how to adapt their lives to a neurotypical world. And the problem is that this places the burden of adaptation squarely on the autistic person, when really this is an interdependence problem. This is really a challenge for both the autistic and the neurotypical people to be able to meet at the mind. And so what we try to do is to flip the burden in our Intent project so that we can help neurotypical people increase their empathy and their understanding of the autistic experience so that they can work best with the autistic employee. So our goal with the Intent project is to create a virtual reality experience designed for neurotypical people to help show them what it's like to experience a situation from the eyes and ears of somebody with autism. We've been building up a body of data from focus groups that we've been conducting with people with autism, with adults with autism. And we're using that to design a virtual reality program that provides a real-time hands-on learning experience for neurotypical people to experience the light and sound and sensory properties, perceptual properties of what it's like to be autistic in particular situations. We plan to partner with employers like Microsoft, with educators in the government to be able to try out these technologies and see if we can make real improvements for people with autism.
Okay, so that's our vision, and how will we get there? I want to introduce our core team members that you've been hearing from. So I'm Elizabeth Redcay. I'm an associate professor in psychology here at UMD. And my research investigates brain, behavioral, and contextual factors that affect social interaction in neurotypical and autistic individuals. Kathryn Dow-Burger is a speech-language pathologist and a clinical associate professor in hearing and speech sciences at UMD. And she's also the co-director of the University of Maryland Autism Research Consortium. And she develops and leads interventions to promote understanding and full inclusion of autistic people. Andrew Bagel is a principal researcher at Microsoft Research, and he works in the Ability Group, and he studies how technology and AI can play a role in extending capabilities and enhancing the quality of life for disabled people. We also have support from members of Maverick who've assisted us with some of the technology aspects. And so importantly, we're not doing this without input. We're doing this with input from the autistic community as well. So here's our stages. Right now, we are in stage 1, where we have done so and are in the process of engaging the autistic community to create focus groups to get feedback so we can create an accurate representation of their experience. So we've completed 2 focus groups with 10 to 12 autistic individuals, and we're using that to construct what the appropriate modifications would be to create this sensory experience that could simulate an example of an autistic experience. And it's an example because, of course, there's a lot of heterogeneity with autism, and the tool we build will not be representative of all autistic individuals, but we can pull from features that can generalize and might be common to represent some commonalities of the autistic experience. Stage 2 is where we will build the tool. And this is an area where we're still seeking additional resources. So as I mentioned, we have partnered with Microsoft for consulting on VR expertise expertise for autism, but we're seeking additional funding for contractors, for vendors, and potentially partnering perhaps with interested individuals here at UMD. And our plan in this stage is to build an immersive neurodivergent experience, and we're starting with the autistic experience, and then we'll scale up to expand to other neurodivergent conditions. So the goal is to develop a beta version and then recruit autistic people to, again, experience the beta version of the Intent tool, provide feedback to us on its appropriateness and applicability of their experiences, and then we'll refine from there. Then we'll move to stage 3, which is the assessment phase. And so we'll conduct research with neurotypical undergraduates. And in this, we'll do a pre and post assessment of their biases, pre and post after the intervention with the Intent tool. And our assessments will include questionnaires, surveys, as well as implicit and explicit measures of bias. And our next stage, stage 4, will be to scale out and deploy this pilot version within real world contexts. And so we'll start with the autism at work employment settings, and again, get feedback from both autistic and neurotypical employees, And then with stage 5, we'll just continue to refine the tool based on this feedback and be able to scale out to different settings where that would be applicable, as well as expand to other neurodivergent conditions.
So let's go back to our company cafeteria slide. What we're going to do is try to highlight the environment we'd like to modify in simulations. So what we've done is through our focus groups, we have certain quotes that I'll be reading that will talk about what they experience in the world around them. We start off with, crowds make me nervous. It's hell for me. If there's a lot of background noise going around, I can't tell what the other person is saying. Group work sucks. When everyone is talking, it's hard to follow group conversations. Flickering lights are annoying. My roommate put up Christmas lights and they had a flicker that only I could see. I took my phone and I slowed it down to show him. Something in the environment may stand out to you more than others. Being in a classroom with a sound system and the volume is up and buzzing, the hum of electronics stands out. Some noises make me feel like I'm getting hit by the sounds. When my dad sucks his teeth, I can hear it across the house. Those sounds are like someone stabbing me in the eardrums. I don't like to be touched. It hurts to be touched. If I'm agitated and someone bumps into me, I feel like I want to scream. So what's our impact together? Companies will better prepare to receive the influx of potential employees with autism and help them succeed. Intent will decrease explicit and implicit biases found in the workplace and induce functional and tangible improvements between neurodivergent and neurotypical employees. Intent will promote inclusion and increase productivity in all settings. Our intent program is scalable in the future to better understand ADHD, anxiety, hearing impairments, and other conditions. So how can you help? Well, we're looking for partners who can help us succeed in multiple arenas, from providing full funding to seed funding to supplying hardware to co-developing intent with us. So together we can have a profound impact on lives through health and empathy applications. So autism affects all of us one way or another. It's our responsibility to understand and empathize. Intent's potential is limitless.